So I just want to kind of do a dude that's, you know, kind of maybe got his hand raised to the back, like with a sword in it or something. So if his arm was back, it'd be like this. His hand would be up. His sword would be probably kind of like, maybe like that. If his hand was kind of like this. You see, I'm drawing an actual 3D space here, guys. So that's all cool. And, you know, we're just going to draw our little sword up there, kind of. This arm might be too short there. That's cool, because we can always go back and just erase that line instead. And it's going to be kind of what we need to get the gesture down with him. You know, like his head kind of, you know, we want him sort of looking down this way, kind of at us from here. Maybe with a shield. His arm would be kind of like that. His hand would be kind of there. The shield would be sort of like outside of that hand, of course. Kind of like that. So you can see that he's actually there behind it. Chest kind of puffed out, body back. You know, maybe his leg, you know, would be positioned kind of forward like that. This kind of thing. And so now his other leg here is back, you know, kind of in a position like that. That looks relatively okay. So we start fleshing this out just a little bit. Give him some biceps, you know, kind of maybe the chest here. Box. I like to kind of use kind of a box when I do and the balls technique and all that. I know that sounded weird. Yeah, just that kind of thing to kind of flesh this out. Kind of a rib cage coming from here. I got to keep thinking about depth, that this thing actually has depth to it. So there's mass, you know, and stuff going on here. Got to remember that when I'm drawing. We're actually making kind of a cage. And right now, you know, there's not much to his body, so I'm trying to beef him up a little bit. You know, this kind of thing. And then we turn here and go, well, how thick are those legs? So we can do this, which is like something you're never able to do in 2D software. You know, he needs some type of a man package there to some degree. And yeah, so we got his calves kind of, or his thighs kind of out there. Get the glutes going. He's going to have some kind of calf muscle, some kind of shin, hopefully not too chicken leggy. Does need to be fleshed out like so. I'm just being real haphazard because once again, this is a sketch to kind of tell me what we're going to do when we get to the sculpting point. But it's a really, really cool thing that we have the options in here that we do to be able to do this. So foot again, boot kind of thing happening here probably. I'll just lay that out from the front. Like this kind of thing goes in like that. So I'm just sort of working out what the foot looks like, where the foot will be, where the shin will be. Like I said, this is the most amazingly magical process. You know, I enjoy drawing this way immensely because I really get to see, you know, what my thing's going to look like if it were real. It's just super cool. And it doesn't feel real computery, if that makes any sense. It feels very much as if I'm drawing and sculpting when I'm sculpting, and not like I'm drawing digitally on a computer necessarily. It's got a lot more organic vibe to it. And you could even save, you know, just this sketch out as your final piece if you wanted to. You know, it does not matter if you want to do a full-on sculpture or you want to do something like this you know, that I'm doing right here is your final piece. Totally cool. It's all doable. Now I think I'm going to make the shield come a little more out from his body. So I'm going to delete some of these lines like this and redraw the shield a little more like that. So we got a little more of a outward sort of positioning of it. And I think his arm is wrong here. So we're going to redraw that. We want his hand kind of coming across the shield in the back. So with that, we start with our forearm shape, you know, kind of our arm shape and the biceps and stuff happening here. A little more of the forearm. And then we could start, you know, fleshing those out too, to where, you know, we know our arm's going to be a little more fat like that through here, a little more like that through there. Same way with our forearm. It's not this spindly little deal. It's, you know, got some mass to it. I'm going to get rid of that circle because that is not correct. So now we can go through here and draw it again that way, you know, and just start really sorting out what really should be here. You know, the hand coming off, got our fingers and stuff coming through here, you know, the thumb, that kind of thing. You can even go in there and draw your straps and do all your stuff. But like I said, this is just kind of a guide to tell us where everything's going to be. This is your sketch. So, you know, a little more beef to these muscles would be good. And yeah, we just start making sure, and I'll let your sculpture go while you're drawing on it. That could be a serious mess. Yeah, we're just making sure this is nice and fleshed out. I'm just drawing these lines as reference to kind of know where the thickness of the shapes are. Obviously this hand is not a what I would call a final representation of the hand. So that's the back of the hand, and then our fingers would be coming this way, and more so. Kind of hard to see at certain angles. There we go. Change the direction of your pin. It's just like changing the direction of your pin in real life, you know, like maybe with a calligraphy pen, you know, it's going to look differently, different directions. I'm going to have to flesh out his head just a little more. I'm going to kind of see where the jaw is, you know, where the eye line stuff really is on it, like an actual head. So erasing a couple of lines that I know are really wrong. Just to kind of take care of that. And then we can start doing the stuff that actually is supposed to be there. And it's pretty accurate. I mean, I'm really impressed with this program overall. This is the one I sculpted the skull in. Like I said, now I'm just doing kind of a sketch for a sculpture. I'm going to get rid of those other ones because these, in fact, are now wrong. And start drawing what we really want. And like I said, this is way better to start this way than to start on the full engrossed sculpture, because now we know where we're going to be taking it. I don't know if there's a function to make your drawing a little bit less obvious when you're sculpting, where it's more in the background. That would be a cool feature. I don't know for sure that they have that. It's something I would add if I was a programmer. Yeah, I can just go in here and add and erase lines to my heart's content until I'm kind of happy with what I'm seeing and understanding what I'm seeing. And that makes life super easy for me. And like I said, I think I'll get this to a point where it looks pretty good, and I might even start adding I don't know, some ideas. Like I said, I don't know if this is perfectly proportioned here or not either, because I am sort of quickly doing this, and it is a practice drawing again. So not everything's going to be perfect on it, but it's the idea of getting it laid out so that I know what I'm doing when I get to the real sculpture. You know, what boundaries to stay, oops, that's not good, what boundaries to stay within and all that kind of thing is good. It didn't draw a minute ago there because I was actually pointing at my menu, and it will take the menu precedence over the object you're looking at, so it used that first, thinking I was pointing at the menu, which I find pretty cool, actually. Let's get rid of that little dude. Okay, so cool. There is our swordsman. His sword kind of sucks. I don't know how far I can go with this, because the problem is, if the sculpt will not sculpt outside of the box, that, you know, our sword is going to be too long to sculpt if it's going outside of the box. So we'll just kind of do a little crappy one like that. I think we got a little bit of room for the bottom, so it might be kind of cool to do some kind of ground that he's on. I'm drawing this in 3 dimensions, of course, to give the idea of where the ground is and where and how it happens. Get the idea? Just to give me a reference. That's pretty cool. And I suppose I could always do another fighter or another figure or something like that later on. See, this way I have the full capabilities here to create this dude long before I've even created him. So I find that pretty amazing stuff. Alright, so I think we'll start there, and then now we'll go into a sculpting mode. I'm going to see if I can maybe, well, let's go ahead and leave them. I was going to recolor them like red, but I don't know that that's a wise idea. It just depends. I mean, I guess it's good because it will keep me from thinking this is part of my sculpture at all, because I'm not going to paint any red on it at first, at least. And this way I know what I'm using as my guide and what I'm not. I suppose I could have done that also in a light blue or something like that too. This is cool. I can actually see all of my lines, which ones I've touched and which ones I haven't. And now we've got this guy in red. So let's go ahead and sculpt. I'm going to blow him up pretty big, about my size probably. That way it'll feel like a real sculpture. And here he is standing in front of me. And we'll just get his, let's not sculpt in red though. We'll go ahead and sculpt in white. Actually, you know what, I'm going to use kind of a gray-green. I like the feeling of sculpting with Roma, like I used to a lot. But this is not actually, you know, Roma-like, but it's close. And I may switch this over again to the white-gray. But it's pretty cool that I can sit here and flesh him out before I even sculpt, so I know what I'm kind of getting into long before I get into it. And he will have like a helmet and stuff on, I think that would be really cool. That all comes though with the sculpt and what I want to do with that. I'm not sure how to go back and get rid of these guides just yet. And I don't think I can select them separately. They don't have layers in here, which I think is the biggest downfall of this program. Because if you had layers, he could be on a separate layer, and that would keep me from, you know, messing with him. So, you know, in any ways that I don't want to. So I may just have to take out the visible lines very carefully. So now I'm going to just start sculpting hopefully, if my computer isn't giving out. There's something weird going on back there. Just start sculpting the body, and I can go back and obviously change this at any time. Start giving myself some fill in there, and across the back. I mean, it's very much like sculpting. I mean, I am adding muscle to my little skeleton here, basically. I like to start inside the figure and pull the wand sort of out of it too, because if you start on top, you wind up getting really nasty like this. You don't want that. So I start on the inside and pull out as much as I need to see of the volume, which works really well. Okay, so we're just getting a basic rough shape down here though. That's kind of the point of this. I think this will be a cool video for anybody interested in sculpting in Masterpiece VR, because really getting the idea of massing out a character and of course planning out that character. Okay, so here we go with his chest. It needs to be puffed out a little bit to the front, so I'm kind of realizing that in my drawing I didn't have that really a lot of volume there. So I'm going to kind of cheat that to the front just a little bit from my drawing. And see, the nice thing is I know that from having that drawing. So that really is pretty amazing that I can do that. I find that really handy. And then now back a little bit in there for all the abs and such. All this will be smoothed, so you don't have to make it perfect at this level, at this stage. So I'm just kind of getting his basic body shape in here, and save that. We're going to sort of mass out his arms here a bit. Like I said, all of this is going down not perfect. I mean, you can see certain things that need to have work, but that's the beauty of it. You can go back and do all of that. Be the Da Vinci when the time, when it's more necessary. And so back here to our other forearm, and I know some things may be smaller or larger. Like I said, that can be changed, of course, but this is really just a matter of, and that's going to be the inside. That's the inside. No, that's the outside of the hand. Duh. Okay, so all this gets worked on when it does. That can be all adjusted in time. We're going to go back and take care of that sword in a minute. All this is going to get adjusted. This is going to be masked out a little more and so on. But the nice thing is I can kind of put it together as I work, as I'm doing it. So let's go here and get the rest of our back in. Down to the waist here. Set all of this will be smoothed and adjusted. One thing I suggest doing, which is I'm about to do in about 5 seconds, is saving as you work, because of internet connectivity and anything else. You never know when something's just going to crap out on you. I've got a couple holes there I filled in. Yeah, so he's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and get a save on this. We'll just make this our picture there. So he's saved. And now on to the legs. Doing the manly bits. Just getting everything laid out. Really wish the internet was up right now, because I'd love to be live streaming this, and once my internet, it's up but it's having issues, and once it's not anymore, and I have some better connectivity, I will wind up doing live streaming of this, because I think it's just much more cooler for me, for sure, to be doing this knowing you guys are watching. I'll be able to see your texting and messages from within the headset here, and I think that would be neat stuff. So just keep creating the legs here, staying within my structure. I think my sketch was okay. Like I said, any bits that we see poking through in the end will be deleted. All of this can be masked in and shaped after the fact. I'm just, oops, getting it going. Just trying to get it blocked in, and then we can worry about the correctness and perfecting it after the fact, because he's got no butt. Okay, here we go. Let's get this laid out. So, like I said, you start off with that drawing, which can be, you know, deleted, any parts that are showing. That was a little off my sketch. And you follow it. I mean, get a really good cage going, is what I like to call that. And then you follow it, trying to be as true to that, because if you do it right, if you do the cage right, your sculpture, and the sculpture follows it, you should be in really good shape when you have all your main body and stuff laid out. So that's what we're doing right now, is just getting him masked out. There's one leg. Looking great. Just like a statue of David here or something, you know what I'm saying? Alright, so we're going to keep going. You know, if this was stone or clay, I wouldn't be working as fast, obviously, because I couldn't. So it's still a complete art. It's still a complete sculpture. It still takes a lot of, you know, it takes artistic ability. This is not the computer doing it for you. It's just a different form of clay. So I'm just basically sculpting with a different type of clay. So you can, I just wanted to show you guys this because this is not in any way any easier because of it's on the computer. I'm still sculpting for real as though I had actual clay and such. And things still have to be right, and you still have to do it well. Okay, so let's take him back to the floor. We'll make him human-sized still. And I think overall he's looking pretty good. His legs might be a little short, but I'm not going to worry about that. This is kind of a lesson. So what I'm going to do now is go through here. I'm going to increase the size of my smooth tool and just really knock down a lot of these striations and things. Some of them are kind of cool, but you know, some of them don't belong. We don't want him super lumpy or anything while we're trying to work on him. Like, you know, this is not anatomically correct. There's some stuff that looks kind of neat because of where I put the lines and how I put the lines, but that's not really correct. He's got no butt at all. That'll be fixed. That'll be fixed. He's got like all these wing muscles and stuff need to be put in, and so on. There was kind of a tumor there. You get the idea. So I would normally, like I said, use a big flat tool in software. I mean, in actual reality. And smooth this stuff out. It would take me a lot longer, yes. That is the one reason why I like working like this, is because not only got a hole, appropriate, and one reason why I like working like this is because of time. If I can save myself time, then I can do more art. And also, look at this. I'm picking this giant sculpture up and just throwing it around however I need to, and that to me is amazing because you can't do that with clay. It's a huge labor. So I will never give up actually sculpting with clay. But I got to tell you guys, this is amazing. There's no other way to put it. Okay, so we got a basic layout of the dude here. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to see in my brush settings. I think I can just erase. Oh, look at that. I can just erase the sketch as I had hoped for. So now all of this the drawing stuff can go away. And we can concentrate just on the sculpture now that we have that pretty much set up. So all of this. We don't have to look at the red anymore. I'm going to leave the stuff for the sword mostly. That way we can still have our reference for it. But look at that. All of this stuff has gone away. And we can focus now on sculpting him instead of his little weird... And every now and then there might be a piece that pokes out while we're sculpting. But pay it no mind, folks. None whatsoever. It will not matter in the end. It's just there as a guide. Once in a while we might see a piece or two, because I will have missed it, but that's all right. All right, so here we go. Just getting rid of more of it, trying not to delete our ground that we drew. I kind of did not obey some of my foot layout, only because some of it was wrong, and I knew that kind of going in, but that's okay. All right, so here we are, back with our dude, mostly sketch-free, standing on our little ground with his sword, ready to be worked on our shield here, which, like I said, I really wish we had layers, because that right here would be a great place to use a layer and his sword, like on a completely different layer, so I would not affect those while I'm doing something else with him. I may just opt out to go ahead and just sculpt the body without sculpting the shield and stuff yet, just to be safe. Alright, so I'm going to draw in a couple of extra bits that I know really need to be here. Start doing a little bit of the detailing here. And then I'll wind up going through and adding and subtracting at some point what should and shouldn't be here. I'm just trying to get some of the stuff that kind of should be here, going through and smoothing some of that out, adding it, smoothing it, adding it, smoothing it, just to work back and forth. See, now there's a little part that needs some erasing, just right through here. I'm going to turn the strength on that way down, because it's a lot nicer when you're not like destroying your sculpture just because you're touching it with a tool. And just adding and drawing some of the muscles in and back in, and really kind of trying to flesh out, literally, what should be happening here and what he should be looking like. So little bits of clay, just like in real sculpting or in real life, little bits of clay to shape out, what you need to be doing. Sometimes bits of clay that are bigger than the bits of clay you should be using, but that was an accident. So yeah, if you just watch the way I'm sculpting, I'm putting the ball inside of him, squeezing my trigger and sort of pulling it out closer to the surface, and that gives me a much milder addition to what he's got there, because if I just put it on the surface, you're going to get a big old blob of clay on the surface. And you see this is all kind of messy, but I can go back here with the smooth brush and really kind of knock that all down so that I have, something I can really work with a little better. Kind of blends it together to some degree. So I got to keep, going back and forth and looking at, what should and shouldn't be there. This should really kind of come down there, I think. And if I'm wrong and there's some anatomy professor out there looking at this vomiting, hey, it's art, buddy. So some of this works and some of this, is a little extreme, but we'll get there. It'll be amazing in the end, and that's what I promise you. Okay, so I'm just going to add some shoulderness here, shoulder blades, and the muscly goodness that's happening. Hopefully. People keep messaging me in the background, so it's distracting, but that's all right. I don't mind that people like me and want to speak to me, so don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's hard to keep working when I know somebody's trying to talk to me, and I'm recording it. That's the thing, is if I'm recording this, I can't stop. I don't want to stop. So, all right, so he's got a bit of a cone head. We're going to take care of that. Bit of a lumpy arm there. We'll take care of that. So on. As we go, this will just get better and better and better. So the back is always the hard part for me. Looks like I didn't get enough meat on him to begin with, possibly. So that's a little better. He definitely has no butt, so let's go ahead and add in a bit of that. I don't want it to be too big because I will probably overdo that, quite possibly. And then a little more of a hip flexor there. A little more of that. A lot more of this. I'm totally kidding. That was horrible. That was horrible, horrible, horrible. All right. So that's looking all right. A little bit of musculature here and there. Just trying to make him not look too weird. And once I get the muscles on here a little better, I'll wind up doing some more of his actual, what do you call it? The armor we're going to start working on. So I really want to get him in some armor. I think that will be seriously cool. Trying to turn him into the light where I can see him a little better. I think this muscle is kind of wrong. It's not bad, but it needs to, I think, come over a little more like that. Go ahead and knock that down a little bit. See how just free I can sculpt, and not feel like I'm having to worry about how much clay do I have, how much mess am I making. I mean, it's just fun that way, you know? It's just total free creativity, which I think any artist wants more than almost anything. It's just free creating without limits. It's just the coolest thing ever. So we smooth all this out. Feeling a lot more proficient with these tools. I am still very, very unpracticed using these tools in the VR setting. But I think it's starting to work. I'm starting to feel like I know my way around, definitely where the tools are, which was a bother to begin with. And then now kind of a little more with how they work. So that makes me a lot happier too. Alright, so we're going to have to take a little away from some of that, really start figuring out where his face is. That's gonna come into play here pretty quickly. Let's give him a bit of bigger shoulder here. I don't want to make him too beefy because he'll just start looking silly, but he's a warrior, right? We definitely want that vibe going for him. A little tumory there. There's no tumors in the sculpture. No tumor. Alright. That's not bad. It's not great, but like I said, we'll start working out some of the lumps that don't belong. Like this. Alright. Like I said, just being able to whip this guy around without any weight to him is amazing in itself. Okay, we'll add a little bit more kind of under here. Just to kind of get that smooth there. Alright, so there's kind of a line that runs down the body. I want to sort of get that kind of obvious to me. Smooth out some of it. That's alright. A little more definition there. And our pecs. Gotta be real careful how that works. Okay, not bad. I'm seeing his leg is neglecting. There's some serious muscles that are not there in that part of the leg that probably should be. I'll go ahead and smooth that out. So, like I said, it's very forgiving, but you still very much have to be an artist. You still very much have to know how to do it, what goes where, all that good stuff. Because if you aren't, I mean, you're just going to have a pile of clay here just the same as you would anywhere else. That is so weird. All right. Sorry, guys. I took my headset off just for a second. Just feeling like I was hearing something. Nope, I'm good. All right, so back to the sculpture. We need to sort out his face. So I think with our erase tool, I'm going to kind of just start carving into his face, figuring where his features kind of are going to wind up being. Don't want to get him too skinny, but I'm just carving sort of at random here, and then we can go back and refine those. Like if I take off too much, I can always go back and put more, and that kind of thing. He's a little off center, so that's easily fixed with adding clay to this side of his face. And then going back and re-knocking out some of our areas that are going to wind up having facial features on them. Like I said, and the art part does come through here. You really need to be doing that kind of thing. I think it'd be cool if he was screaming, if his mouth was open. Maybe not this ridiculously, but something along these lines. Smooth him out here. He needs a nose, obviously. He needs a real chin, a warrior chin. Something that looks more like a face, maybe, might work for him. A beard might be kind of cool. Let's go ahead and get rid of some of this. So size of your tool definitely matters. I like to smooth as I go. It's one of the problems that I was having with, what is that other program? There's another program I was starting to use that I thought was going to be really great. And unfortunately, you couldn't smooth and then go back and sculpt more because you had to go into a different mode to smooth, and once you're in that mode, you had to stay. Otherwise, all your work was lost. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Obviously, these people never used ZBrush or something where you're constantly, I mean, like an artist, you're constantly working back and forth and adding and taking away, and there's always that going to happen. So I'm just kind of creating more of his brow and getting a little more of his feel happening here. I think he needs a little more in the forehead, possibly here. And you can't get super detailed in here, unfortunately. I would be glad when ZBrush makes a plugin, or that this program gets ZBrush-like, where they really add a lot of those features that we need to really, you know, take it to a finished place. But it's not bad. I'm telling you. See, now I can take his head and make it really huge, make my tools. Well, I can't get any smaller than that, but at least I can get close up to it, you know. And by taking like a cube tool, I can push that in there at an angle and hopefully kind of get some sense of an eyeball or eyelid. Yeah, there's a lot of that's not going to happen here. This is just not going to be a high fidelity enough, unfortunately, but that's okay. I'm going to kind of bring out this brow just a little bit more. Just kind of feeling pushed back. Maybe the cheekbone a little too. I don't want to overdo his features. It's kind of a easy thing to do when you're sculpting, is to make him very stylized. Oops. And I don't really want to do that if possible. I'm going to see how close to something realistic I can get. I plan on, I wanted to use this for a miniature, for, you know, like a role-playing game. So you can imagine, he looks like that at basically, what, about a 2-foot high sculpture here. And if you can imagine him, oops, as only a 2-inch sculpture, basically. He'll look very detailed for his size when we get to that point. So I'm going to try and smooth his face just a little bit more. That's pretty good. His head's a little lopsided-y weird, so I'm going to add a little more structure to this side of his head. That's a little elephant man-like. It's okay, we can fix that. And I'm probably going to take away some of the other side of his head a little bit more too. So this will smooth down. This will smooth down. Smooth that out. That's a little bit better. He's still a little lopsided, you can see. That's easy enough to remedy with my elephant man-like abilities here, and then go ahead and smooth that out. So it's about the place we want it. Alright, not too bad. Not perfect, but not too bad. He's a little flat and headed in the back, and something's weird about his muscle in the back, but okay. So moving on. I'm going to make a small brush here and try to get some lips on this dude. Especially that bottom lip. We want it to really kind of stand out a bit, like, he's screaming, you know what I mean? Maybe some teeth in here. And in the bottom, maybe it'll show some of the teeth. I don't know how to get super in there, so we're going to take this little pyramid. I'm going to use it as best as I can as an eraser. See if I can knock back the edge of this lip to make a line. They don't really have a crease tool that goes inward that I can find. I need to look up a tutorial online or something, because there's a crease tool, but I can only make it crease outward. As much looking as I've done, I can't make it crease inward. So I'm trying to give him a little more dimension in the mouth, maybe thin out the teeth just a little bit. And if I'm going to 3D print this, that's the other thing. I've got to be careful how much detail and how, because if it won't print at, 28 millimeters, there's no point in putting the detail on him. You know what I mean? Let's switch out to a sphere, give him a little more of a nostril here. We'll go in and chop some of that out too with our pyramid. Gonna cut that back, give him more of a crease there. We're gonna take down, it's kind of like shaving clay off, take that down a little bit there too, and give him a little more of a nasal labial kind of fold there. It's not perfect because we don't really have the resolution to do what I'd like to do, but it's working. I'm going to work on that lip again because it's, for one, it's vanishing. Switch back to my sphere. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, we're going to switch back to our pyramid, go back to our eraser, and try and get a little more definition through the eyes. These are going to be more painted on from as far as I can tell, just because of how small this guy is going to wind up being in the end. So not bad, Not what I would like per se, but not bad for the resolution that I'm sculpting at. And unfortunately, like I said, will just not let me do what I would like, given the size of the figure and everything that we're at. So I'm just hollowing the cheeks out just a little bit to give more of the idea that he's screaming, and we're going to smooth that pretty lightly. So not too bad. I'm going to actually take my strength on my smoothing way down, see what I can get away with around the eyes. Just a little bit. I don't think I want to touch the mouth too much because that will start to vanish on me. So there's our dude. Pretty much life size. Well, probably life size, a little more there. Standing in front of me. Coming down the mountain, you know, screaming. I think a beard would be really cool. But I think we should put a helmet on him if we're going to, just to get that going. So in doing that, we might want to shoot, because that's the other thing too, is I don't know how to select move something yet. So I'm going to actually have to sculpt it on him at this point. Because I know you can select, but I don't know how to move something. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to say select this whole piece. I'm going to copy it, and now I'm going to, well, you can copy and paste all day long, which is kind of neat, because then I could, like, say, give him a halo, and that works, and go back and erase the rest of it. But let's undo that, and it won't. Why are we not undoing? Okay, let's go back to select. Let's go back to undo. Oh, I'm undoing my sculpture. Well, we don't want to do that. So redo. And I'm going to just erase these guys, because obviously I don't know how to do that just yet, and that's kind of feels limiting, unfortunately. Because if I got it wrong, I couldn't undo it without erasing it, and that could be a little bit tragic. So I'm just thinking, though, if I drew a helmet over here and then try to put it on him, it might be kind of a cool idea. But let's just draw one on him, because we're going to just kind of take it and do that. And I can use some guides, I believe, and make straight lines here. So where are my guides? There we go. We're going to try a line. I'm going to just test it out here. Okay, I don't see any guides. So we've got mirror off, guides are on now. That's a plane, we don't want that, we don't want a point. I want a line. So see, we can do that, which is a good thing, and then we can draw on it. Okay, we got to turn our mirror off. So let me undo all of this. Oops, redo. And let's leave our line on. We'll turn on mirror off. We have our guides and our line, and now we're going to draw. Let's erase his halo here again. That is not necessary. So now we're going to draw, but we're going to use our guide. It's going to be a line. So when drawing that line, I'm going to go, I guess, from here to about there. And then now, maybe I can draw another line from here to there. And I think, so I wish I could draw curved lines that way. That'd be cool. And I think I can do points. So if I drew a point here and a point here, those are guides, which means I could probably do a point here, a point here, and I wonder if these will work as as guides. For my helmet, that would be really cool because I could do nifty stuff. See, those are too close together apparently because it doesn't like that, but I'm gonna leave that kind of as is, and we'll just see if that works. So now I'm gonna draw. I'm gonna actually sculpt and see. I'm gonna move our sculpting tool down as far as it'll go and sculpt, and hopefully we can sculpt. Well, we can't sculpt between the dots. That gives us kind of reference points, which I don't mind that. Let's just do this. We can kind of get an idea maybe of where our sculpture is going. Okay, that's not horrible. So with that, maybe I need more lines going up. So we're going to go ahead and use our guides. And let me make sure that, yeah, okay. So basically, if I go from here to there, and I go from here to there, and now I'm going to draw some more of these here to here. Oops. Let's escape that somehow. Let's go back to our line tool. I want to just kind of come up the back of the helmet, go to the point that I know it curves over his head. Keep that, the integrity of that. So basically I'm just kind of creating, these points where I know I need our helmet to kind of start and end. Hopefully that will assist me in making it fit on him a little better. So we're going to go back to drawing now and draw like so, like so, like so. To me, this is pretty genius. Actually, I'm happy with myself at the moment. I think it feels like I figured something out that makes sense as far as keeping my integrity of my shape that I'm going to be doing. I think that works. Okay, so now we're going to turn off our guides and just use what we've got here to sort of connect our dots. And then I will fill in the shape momentarily. See how I've screwed that up? That's okay though, because I can just fix it like that. I'm just going from line to line. I can sort of fill in and round out as necessary, as need be. And there is the bottom portion of the helmet. And then I can decide here kind of, where does my visor start and stop. And get that going. That's not too bad, folks. Not too bad. Okay, so now I can just start filling in all of this. Of course, once again, we can go back and smooth. But this is a great starting point for getting our shape. It's kind of like 3D printing right here. And then I can go back, like I said, and give that a smooth and ruin it. See? Cool. No, but just go back and make sure everything is nice and filled. And then flatten that out. I'm going to take our eraser with a cube on it, as a matter of fact, probably, and really get a nice flat surface on that, probably, if I'm careful. And just go back and fill in our holes. So, not too bad, and I might even be able to use the cube brush to do our filling in, to get a flatter surface to start with. And as far as I'm concerned, the clay can go all the way through to the underside to his face, as long as we can't see that from the surface, because if we're 3D printing this, it can't really have that big hollow space under there anyway and be as efficient as it needs to be. So, you know, this is just going to take some finessing back and forth, getting this right. Every time I smooth, I'm kind of tearing a hole in it, so I'll figure that out in a bit. That'll probably stop happening once I get it more solid underneath. But that is pretty cool. That's working for us. So here we go, back to our helmet creation. I'm just going to keep going, filling in our helmet, getting that taken care of. It's a little bit like Troy or something, you know. You're going to kill me. I think it's a Trojan helmet. Someone's going to watch this and go, "You idiot, you're in the SCA for crying out loud." I know. So that right there doesn't need to be, see? So I'm going to take that off and fix our issue there. I'm just trying to give myself some reference points by doing a grid here and there. I know kind of where these are supposed to be flowing and following, even though I'm kind of screwing it up as we go. But it'll work in the end. Everything will get smoothed out. Everything will look good. Just trying to make sure I'm not making, screwing up too much of the face underneath that's going to be visible through the grill of the helmet. I didn't say gorilla, I said through the grill of the helmet. So you'll get that kind of an idea. Obviously, that little bit doesn't belong. So it'll look good in the end, and that's what we care about. So I'm going to raise our size of this a little bit, because basically this is going to be the helmet. Just being careful that I don't screw up the face. That was lovely. So I can go back in here and take that off, of course. But you see, I'm kind of trying to fill in, kind of back in there, because the print will be better if all that is actually not hollow. I'll just take a smaller brush and wind up doing that from the inside. Oops. If I get anything on the outside, I'll just go back and erase it or smooth it to get it to go away. Eventually I'll get this all nice and flat. It won't be like an oatmeal helmet. It looks like it's made out of welds, which is not the way they made them, by the way. And get this all nice and done. There's that part. So now if his head's a little wonky, it's because the helmet's wonky. You know what I'm saying? Just gotta be careful what's visible from the outside. And then go back now easier and smooth this because it's not going to tear holes because it's more solid. Some of the places are and some of them are not. So obviously I'll need to pay a little more attention here and there to some places more than others. But you get the idea. This is a hell of a way to sculpt a D&D miniature, isn't it? which is essentially what I'm doing. So, trying to get this smooth enough without ruining my shape. Now, if you're wondering how it's going to look when it's small, keep in mind that's like a foot tall. This would be about that's about what it's going to look like, you know, in comparison to my controller. I'm going to probably do him about that size. So that's a lot of detail, you know, for a miniature. But he's got a long way to go still. So, long way to go. I'm just trying to do some fill in without making him too puffy. I'll go back and adjust all that. I'm just trying to get a nice solid fill using our guides there. And then if it's filled solid, then I can smooth it better without tearing it up, which is what we want. And I realize I am giving him head lumps, but that, with a little more strength, can be easily remedied. Just have to be careful on those face pieces until I get those thickened up correctly. But all of this can be smoothed perfectly. It's just a matter of spending the time to do it. And it is absolutely necessary on something like this. Just have to take the time and make it happen. Just smoothing. And I may cut the video here and advance it. I'm not sure yet, but I don't want you guys to miss anything, but I also don't want to bore you with long, arduous tasks like smoothing. You could turn up your power, the strength, but I just need to be really careful that I don't strengthen it, because I will start misshaping the entire head, which we don't want. We do want to get a little more work done in a smaller amount of time. We don't want it to take as long as it does on a traditional sculpt, obviously. So I'm just going in here and knocking it out a little more. Turned up the strength a little bit. Let's do it. Anything I see that looks like a lump, I'm just going back over for quite a while and letting that drop back out. If it's a little bumpy, it's okay. I don't mind it looking handmade or hammered. I'd like to put that detail in myself though, but now you see how the helmet's kind of misshaped now. We don't want that, so I'll go back and fix some of that real quick. Probably going to give us a nice round ball that will fit the head, even a little bit bigger. And just sort of fill that volume up like that. See? That took care of it. And a little more, not in the eye, but about there. There. So you get the idea. I mean, this is pretty free creativity here. Just get to keep working, get to keep fixing, adding, doing whatever I need to make it happen. Let's go ahead and work on this edge of the helmet now again. So I drop us right back up there. We're gonna start kind of refining, I guess, some of this if I can. because some of that is just a little too unrefined. So that looks a little better. Probably need to bring up the bottom of this to about there. And let's go ahead and smooth that down. Okay, go ahead and fill in some of this stuff. It's a lot like working with spray foam and a knife and a heat gun. It's a little more like that than I think traditional sculpting at first, but I've done a lot of that kind of work, so that doesn't really intimidate me so much. What bothers me is sometimes I'll get a headache wearing this thing, and that sucks because I don't really do that free sculpt like clay sculpting. But my eyes, I've been in it for quite a while tonight, so it's probably no surprise. Okay, so not bad. I'm trying to fill in some of these low parts, look a little unfilled. And then what I'm going to wind up doing is going in underneath and solidifying some of this stuff up that's a little thin, because this would never print. I've learned that. There's no real reason to see some of this. So we just fill that in. And I have another program that when I take it in there and I make, it kind of corrects some of my polygon errors and stuff. It'll make this a solid model to where, and that's Mesh Mixer. It'll make this a solid model that'll actually will become printable, because it'll find any holes and stuff that are in the model and sort those out. And that's very important, because if you're trying to print stuff that has overlaps and weird geometry, it will fail. Absolutely fail. So you don't want to be doing that. I'm just trying to fill in where I know these are like low spots, and then go back with the smoothing tool and flatten them back out, kind of iron them down. They'll be a lot less obvious that they're not perfectly flat. Like this here, this is a low spot all through here. So it's kind of like filling in with spray foam when I sculpt in foam, and then going back and taking your knife and shaving that back down. You just got to make sure you don't over smooth, or it will drop it back into a valley again, which we don't want, as I've said before. So not bad, a little better. There's a little bit of a lump here from the sculpt the addition I did. It's not perfect, but like I said, this thing is going to be, the helmet is going to be like what, 1/8 of an inch? Not much to worry about. So, and I need to go back on this side and thicken the inside, give us a little better strength and everything, because you see as I'm sculpting here and smoothing here, some of these parts want to become hollow or want to make holes, because there's literally nothing on the inside of this part of the helmet. Which is fine as long as we don't see it from the outside to add stuff in like this. Like I said, it'll make it a much better print, but we just need to make sure that the outside looks okay. So I'm kind of joining that with a smooth, and then I'll go back and fill in the missing part of the helmet here. Get another bit of smoothing on there. I accidentally smoothed it a little too much earlier after I had already fixed it. So, not bad. We'll just keep kind of going, adding, smoothing. It's kind of it's an interesting way to sculpt, is adding and taking away, adding and taking away. But it's kind of how I do it with real clay. I just don't add so much and take so much away right after I added it. So here, that little hole, I think I'm just going to fill this in too, because we really just want to see his mouth. And all of this is kind of going to be an issue later. See, all this. So I'm just going to bring that up to the neck. Make that nice and connected. The software will thank me. The printer will thank me. And these printers, pretty amazing, but they can't do everything. So the design is a big deal. What will print and what will not. And we're going to go ahead and make the top edge of this helmet, I think, stand out a lot more. And yes, I'm going to put a nasal on it. I know somebody's thinking that right now. Just trying to add a little more. I don't know if my controllers are dying or something. I'm getting some jerking here. And then, like I said, take a cube, and I take my eraser, and I can go back here very carefully, and for the most part, flatten that surface. For the most part, trying to create me an edge possible underneath there. Not horrible. Not easy. So all this needs to kind of iron out. And all this needs to crease a little bit. Okay, so if we zoom back out, once again, you'll see that that's going to look pretty decent as a little tiny, this is a little tiny figure here. Like, that's about how big he's going to be. That's naked, and that's very spindly. He's not very stocky for a figure, so we're going to need to add some stuff. But I think you get the idea and why it needs to be just so. We're going to go ahead and add in, we're going to fill in his mouth some, because that's a little deep also. The printer can print anything, but the overhang inside of his mouth will be a little bit of an issue, even that small probably. The smaller things don't have as much of an issue that way as the larger things. But they can. Smooth that just a little bit. Just a little bit there. So yeah, coming along. Add some volume in these places that are a little dippy looking. And smooth them out. And this is the way to work, man. Let me tell you what. This is a way to work. It's neat. No complaints. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little more volume in there. Looks like we need some back there. And I just kind of start to see more and more stuff as I go, so just kind of taking care of it. So if anybody has any interest in this and wants to come over to my house and try it out, you can. Have to plan for it. I'm pretty stingy at the moment, though, I gotta warn you. And concerned, of course, with the safety of the stuff and everything else, but it's an experience, and I wouldn't mind showing it to people. It is an experience and a half. Lower. Let's undo that. Let's go ahead and do an edge down the helmet right here. You see, I don't really have the resolution to do it the way I'd like, but he's going to be tiny. This is a tiny, tiny figure, guys. If I really wanted to make a helmet with a lot of resolution, I would have started out much larger without the rest of the body and made a solid helmet by itself, and then added it to a figure. or something along those lines. And I probably would have started in ZBrush, to be quite honest with you. I wanted something that detailed. This is more of a starting with the sculpture scenario here as far as this program goes for me. I'm just kind of laying it out in here, and then I'll go back to ZBrush and really kind of take care of it. As far as I'm concerned, that's the best way to do it. All right, so I'm going to erase a bit here. Take a look at that. It's not bad. It's not perfect. But like I said, for a figure, a tiny, tiny little figure, it's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and here and take our pyramid probably and erase just to create a crease right along there. A little more crease right along here. Gotta be careful. It's really easy to do it too much. This is like a hot knife through butter. That's why I turned my strength down quite a bit. Just trying to create enough of a line to where when you look at it when he's tiny, that you'll see the detail a little better. So it's got to be a little bit extreme. But again, just got to be careful. It's real easy to overdo it. And that's not perfect, like I said, but it'll work. I think I'm going to carve off a bit of the face of this too. So it's a little fat and roundy. So not bad. I think I'm going to take my sphere, as small as I can get it, maybe, and just do a little bit of erasing in there, just because that just feels like there's not enough of a line. Go back, add just a touch to this. All right, that's all right. Like I said, little tiny figure, guys. You know, we need to keep that in perspective. This is what we're going to have in the end. So I'm saving the shield just because I kind of want that to, because it's going to cover up his body and his arms, so I'm trying to stay away from that. The hands I'm going to get in a bit too, but I think I'm going to do, let's try his boots. Let's get a nice set of boots. Needs a little bit more leg here, for one. That's a little better. Give him a little bit more of a kneecap probably in here. Oops, that's weird. Blend that down a little bit. Okay, well, that'll work for our starting point. He's going to have a boot on, so I'm not really horribly worried about it. I'm just going to draw kind of a boot line, an edge, as to where the boot's going to be. Just turning him around and around here. And there's his boot line. And we'll give this side a boot line too. All right. I'm going to get this boot lines done. I believe we're going to end the video. I don't want to make these 42 hours long. But I just kind of wanted to get you guys, there'll be a part 2, don't worry, where we take this farther. I just wanted to kind of get you guys associated, and understanding of the process that I'm doing with sort of starting out with a sketch and then leading into this idea, you know, of the sculpture from the sketch. I think it's a great way to work. It's what I've done so far when I've done this a little bit. Not a whole lot. Like I said, I'm still a baby in VR in general. But it is kind of my method of sculpting in other programs, if I can help it. You know, I'll do a sketch first, and then that way, so I'm just smoothing after I add that volume. That way I can have something to base it on. Otherwise, who knows what you're supposed to be doing, you know, when you start. So here's our dude. I'm going to go ahead and save him as this guy. Go ahead and save like so. I'm going to call this particular video From Sketch to Sculpt, and we're going to label it, you know, Warrior or something like that, and then we're going to go from here. So this is our dude. You can see him there in all his naked glory, you know, just hanging in midair here. He's this big, kind of life-size, so not super detailed because he is not very big, but he's going to be our tiny little figure. It's going to be our tiny little figure, if you can see. Lots of detail in this tiny little figure. I'll tell you what. So looking good. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.